everyone. It's so great to see you. If you want to feel free to turn your camera on and join us, that's great. Reminder to just stay on mute, and any thoughts you have can go in the chat box. But most importantly, welcome, welcome, welcome to Creaky Kitchen. We're back after our summer break for a little spooky season, getting ready for the holiday season. I have my little spooky towels over here, you can see. We're so excited to have you all join us tonight. I'm Zoe ROTHBLATT, patient advocate and community outreach manager with the Global Healthy Living Foundation and Creaky Joints. And tonight we're joined by Chantelle Marcial, who you may recognize if you joined previous Creaky Kitchen events. She'll be sharing a delicious recipe with us. We're also joined by Lauren Scholl, who you may recognize from the Psoriatic Arthritis Club podcast, and she'll discuss healthy tips for healthy eating during the holidays. And of course, we're joined by GREENBLATT, our co-host. Hey, Corey, how's it going tonight? It looks like you're going to be cooking along with Chantelle.
Yes, I am. I'm very excited. Butternut squash is one of my favorite ingredients, and butternut squash soup is just one of those things that feels like fall to me. So when Chantelle said she was cooking it, I was incredibly excited. So already got everything in the oven now. The house starting to smell like fall. I am very excited.
Oh, I love it. I'm actually starting to smell like fall here too, but for a different reason, everyone. I have a fall candle going. I'm not cooking tonight, but I wanted to have the aroma, so I got myself in the mood with a fall candle. But Corey, I wanted to ask you as we get started, what are you looking forward to most in this upcoming holiday season? Of course, it's another year of COVID and things are still looking a little bit different. So I want to know what you're most looking forward to.
You know, I think I'm looking forward to the thing I'm always looking forward to in the holiday season, which is the food. It seems very appropriate for this channel, but I mean, I'm a big pumpkin pie fan, so October, November comes around and I'm happy. Thanksgiving is probably my favorite holiday of the year because you just have an excuse to overeat. And then that's matched by the holiday season in December, which just feels like you have a reason to celebrate every day of the month. So I'm a very happy camper over the next 2.5 months. So just generally, I get excited. What about yourself?
Well, I agree. I love this season. I love the cold weather. I feel like I have so much more energy to, walk and be around. And it's really nice in New York City to look at the storefront and see everybody decorating and setting up just the small little things. And Corey, do you know what we have coming?
What's that?
A bunch of Creaky Kitchen events. That's what I'm most excited for.
Yes. Can't wait. Can't wait to see what we got cooking.
Exactly. So everyone stay tuned. We'll keep you posted, but over the next couple of months, we'll be continuing to spread holiday cheer, and we'll gather together as a community online third Thursday of the month, maybe. We'll send you emails about it. Don't worry. But before I turn it over to Chantelle, firstly, wanted to congratulate her. Chantelle actually wrote an abstract about her experience with Creaky Kitchen and starting this cooking show, and got accepted to present at the American College of Rheumatology conference. So this is a conference that's hosted yearly where health professionals from around the world come together to share clinical best practices and different updates in the field. And there's a portion of the conference devoted to patient perspectives. And Chantelle said, okay, I'm going to submit one about Creaky Kitchen, about this experience and what it's done for her health and all of our health, just getting together online during this time. So congratulations to Chantelle, and everyone, if you want to follow along and read that, we'll be posting a lot on Twitter during the conference. I'm pretty sure it begins next week. So you can follow us on Twitter at Creaky Joints, and we'll also be posting some articles after with the big wrap-ups of all the information you need to know. So definitely stay connected with us. And Chantelle, I'm going to turn it over to you for the recipe.
Okay, you done made me cry. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. Like I've said before, it's an honor to have so many of you in my, well, it's a good sized kitchen, but it probably wouldn't fit all of you. But so happy to be back after a break, and actually a literal break. I broke my ankle in 2 places back in June and had surgery on it in July. With the help of the amazing team at MGH Sports Medicine, I am back on my feet, as you guys can see. with 8 pins and a giant rod in my ankle. So I'm back in my creaky kitchen and I'm actually creaking today, but that's okay. So like Corey said, he did some prep work, did some mise en place. I did some mise en place, but I did it way earlier probably than him because his oven's still on. Mine isn't. My pizza stone's probably cold already. So what we're doing tonight is a butternut squash soup, like Corey mentioned. And I'm going to attempt, I'm not an artist, I'm going to attempt arts and crafts at the end to tie in the spooky theme. Now, I am themed out in my thriller apron. So see, I came with the theme and orange and yellow roses. Not traditionally Boo-ween, but that's fine. It's what I do for Boo-ween. How about that? So anyway, on the stove right now, I have bubbling a little aggressively, might I add, some chicken stock. You can use veggie stock if you want. It's totally up to you. Are you giving the dogs a treat? That's a cute dog. Corey, sorry. So what I've already done is I have roasted off, let me move my little mobility chair that I got in this whole thing. You guys might want to look at this. It's pretty cool. It goes up pretty high. I can use it when I'm in the kitchen. It's fantastic. Another little adaptive aid for us in the creaky kitchen. So what I've already done is I've roasted off 2 russet potatoes, a bunch of butternut squash that was already cut, and a white onion, as well as some herbs. The herbs are super special to me. They came from my boss's garden, which is in the Fenway Victory Gardens. I grew up around the corner from the Victory Gardens and could never get one as a kid because I was a kid. But she was generous enough to give me a bunch of herbs last week, and they are fantastic. So that's all that. The other thing that I did, and if you follow me on Instagram, you would see that I posted a picture of my prep work, which was essentially going to the store and letting them help me. So in the process of developing this recipe for Creaky Kitchen, I was looking for butternut squash, went to a particular store that I love. They did not have butternut squash broken down. I said to myself, I can do this. I got this. I got I have a knife collection that's unbelievable. I can do this. I got this. So I took the butternut squash, cut it by the neck. It was gruesome. Put it in the microwave over here, piece by piece. It was like two pieces, 45 seconds for the neck, 30 seconds for the body of it. And, you know, after pricking the skin, that made the skin a little bit softer. So I was able to peel it using a wide peeler, just in a downward motion. So it was kind of a repetitive motion. And then chopping it up and de-seeding and all that stuff. Well, 0 out of 10, maybe 1 out of 10 would not recommend doing this. It was super hard on my hands. It was a total workout. Not like the kind that Coach is going to discuss later probably, but it was a complete workout for me. And yeah, I'm going to take help from the store whenever I can. And that was my lesson to me being hard-headed. I learned something new. I can no longer break down a butternut squash without nearly hurting myself. So anyway, so I took some help from the store. The butternut squash was already broken down. I got 2 containers from Trader Joe's. They're about a pound each. So if you get a normal butternut squash, they're about 2.5, 3 pounds, depending. So it's about the same amount of butternut squash. And what I did is I roasted all those, like I said, with the herbs. So what I'm going to do, grab a napkin, is I'm going to take off the leaves of the thyme, which are really delicate. They've done their job, but you know, they might as well be in there. They came to the party too. So I did that on the other tray already. This did break down into 2 different trays. The rosemary, which was not in the recipe, but I couldn't let it go to waste. And I only had like a day or 2 left of it being good. So I just threw it on there, no big deal. I was on the phone with my boss when I did it. She approved. So I'm gonna take some of the thyme leaves off of the stalks. They're pretty delicate anyway, so they're gonna blitz up pretty well later. And then what I'm going to do is add all of this into this pot of stock. Now, that's hot. I never learned not to touch hot things. I didn't pass that in kindergarten. Alrighty, now I could take a spatula and go like so and back and forth, but that seems like it's a lot of effort. That's why we cook everything on parchment paper. Because we can just ball up our parchment paper and safely away from you, drop everything into the stock. And now I'm not Ina Garten, so my pans that I use look like pans that get used. So don't judge me, okay? No judgment. This is no judgment zone. And this is the second pan. And the reason why I did it in 2 pans is so that I could give it some space in between so that they could basically have their space to hang out and get a little browning on them. The potatoes browned up pretty nice. They had olive oil, salt, and pepper on them. So everything browned up really, really nicely this time. So I was really happy about that. So everything is here in the pot. Let's use a spoon. And so everything goes in. We're gonna let it warm up for a little bit together because, like I said, this I made earlier this afternoon, so it's not the hottest as it could be. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this come kind of to the simmer, add a little bit of salt and pepper, just a tiny bit now because we're gonna taste for seasoning at the end and we don't wanna go overboard. I just filled my pepper mill and I'm really proud of myself, so. Yeah. And then we're gonna add those warm spices that were in the recipe. Now, the first one that I mentioned was nutmeg. Obviously, I use a ton of nutmeg because I think I got this like 7 months ago. So yeah, I have a bit of a nutmeg problem. Now my husband's finding that out because he's here live. Really doesn't know how many things have nutmeg in them. And what I'm gonna use is my microplane. You guys can see that. And the microplane is going to be on the actual nutmeg. And we're just gonna go right into the pot. Now, like I say all the time, you can measure to your heart's content, but I season with the heart. So I did put actual measurements in the recipe, but I'm gonna season until I can smell it. And the best part about using this rasp with the nutmeg is, oh, the scent that you get off of this is just so phenomenal. So yeah, that's about 1/4 teaspoon. Not a lot. Obviously, you guys know if you're a PSL, pumpkin spice latte lover, that a little bit goes pretty far. The next thing I'm gonna add in is some curry powder. Curry powder can vary. Every brand is different. This one happens to be from Trader Joe's, and it's pretty middle of the road. Some can be spicier, some can be more mild, some have more turmeric, some have more coriander. So find the one that you like the best. And I always suggest like getting the smaller bottles if you can, and then committing to something larger when you're ready and you know which one you like the best. So like I said, season with the heart. So I'm gonna sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. And then the last one that I'm gonna put in here is, you guys probably can't see this, but it's called Ras El Hanout. And I got this at a local spice shop. They do still exist in Cambridge. And it's made by the owners. So Ras El Hanout is kind of similar to curry in that every single one is different. And it just adds like a warmth. It has, I believe, fenugreek and cardamom and a bunch of other just wonderful warm spices. It's phenomenal. If you don't have it, that's fine. It's totally optional, but oh, that smells so good. It can't be duplicated, but it's fantastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle a bit of that in. And like I said, we're going in the recipe, we're going for warm. We are not going for pumpkin spice latte. 2 totally different things. Warm spices kind of open up your sinuses and they make you feel good and whatnot. And you can also, if you want to go, you could go spicy with this if you wanted to. I wasn't gonna do that because the last recipe that I made, if you guys remember, pretty spicy. So we're gonna just go ahead, mix this all up. I'm gonna turn this up to medium and let it all marry. And then I'm going to use the reason why we're here, the reason why Corey and I are bonding right now, the stick blender. You see that? We've never introduced power tools to Creaky Kitchens, have we? No, we've been using knives and graters and zesters and things of that nature. But if you want to take a little help from the store, find one of these. These are amazing. Alternatively, like I mentioned in the recipe, you can do this in a blender or in a like Cuisinart. The only thing is that you've got to be careful because adding hot liquid into the carafe of the blender it can cause an explosion. So you're going to want to have a kitchen towel, keep the top feeder open, use the kitchen towel on top, and go very slowly. I have had the lovely experience of having butternut squash soup all over a kitchen. Again, 0 out of 10, would not recommend. So I'm going to go ahead and blitz this. It's a bit loud, so I don't want to go ahead and do that while I'm on camera with sound. So what I'm going to do is toss it back to Zoe and Corey and hopefully learn something from Coach, because after these 3 months, I could really use it. Thanks, guys. I'll be back at the end to plate.
Thank you, Chantelle. And you're not the only one who's had a terrible experience with a food processor and hot veggies. It is no fun and a big, big mess to clean up. And the soup is never worth it at the end. Well, and I did buy an immersion blender after that, and it saved my life. So if anybody's thinking about it, definitely I encourage it. Great holiday gift to think about for yourself or for a family member. So before I turn it over to Lauren, I wanted to take a quick commercial break. Lauren, you may recognize her from the Psoriatic Arthritis Club podcast, which is a podcast about, and I think we also have Diane on and some other folks that were part of this podcast. So shout out if you're on the call here tonight and you participated in a podcast or any of our other work. Really shout out to everyone in our community who's just on tonight. But we've been growing our podcast as a GHLF community, and we have a lot of fun in store. We do one about health advocacy and healthcare news. We have the psoriatic arthritis one. There's a migraine podcast, and I'm going to drop the link in the chat in a minute or two. And it'd be really fun if you guys want to check it out. Audio is just a different form to consume content. So I definitely encourage you all to check it out. And to introduce Lauren. So Lauren is a certified nutrition coach and personal trainer. And 5 years ago, Lauren was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis, which ultimately led her to leaving her career in competitive dance. And she went on to pursue another field she was passionate about, which is fitness and nutrition. So Lauren's here to talk to us tonight about healthy eating during the holidays. And Lauren, I have to say, I am desperate to hear, because I was telling Chantelle earlier this week how I live above a Target, and what Target does is keep repurposing their front to just rotate out the different Halloween candies and all the fun variety packs. So I was guilty of finally giving in and buying a variety pack this week. I cannot stop munching on it. So I'm so eager to hear and learn from you tonight. And with that, I will pass it over.
Hi guys, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to start actually with a Halloween tip. You kind of already are too late for this, but my tip for Halloween is don't buy the candy before Halloween. We went to Costco where we got like these huge Halloween candy bags, and they are definitely have been broken into in our house too. So that's my biggest tip for Halloween. Hold off on the candy until the actual day. But I'm excited to talk to you guys about the holidays. Chantelle, that food looks delicious, and it looks like it would be completely in line with what I would recommend. I think the holidays are a great time to enjoy yourself and to gather with family and friends, and of course bond over food. I think that's one of everyone's favorite ways of bonding. But I go into Halloween, or I go into the holidays typically because knowing that specific foods can trigger, for me, inflammation and symptoms for my psoriatic arthritis. And also, of course, as a health and wellness advocate, as my profession is a nutrition coach, I try to also stay on track with all of those things. And I think they really do go hand in hand. So whether you're fighting inflammation or whether you are trying to stay on track with some goals that you have for yourself, these tips should help you. When I do go into a gathering, typically the first thing I do when the food is displayed is I make 3 mental notes in my head. I categorize the food when I see the huge spread, and I think to myself, what are the must-haves? What are the wants and what are the not so worth it. And then I kind of know where I can begin. And that's kind of like my mentality going into it. I also, like, for me specifically, know foods that do trigger inflammation, and inflammation happens with everyone. For me, I know gluten is definitely a trigger for me. Dairy is also a trigger for me personally. It's also common for refined carbs and sugars to be a trigger for, you know, for people, which is like sweetened drinks, alcohol, things along those lines. So I kind of know going into it where my, where I might try to stay away from some of those things that may look really good, but I might regret the next day.
So Lauren, I have a question for you. Once you've identified, you know, those anti-inflammatory foods and must-haves and stuff, how do you actually incorporate this when you're in the kitchen going to fill up your plate to sit down for dinner?
So that's my next trick. My next trick is I look at the plate and I try to fill the majority of my plate up with the non-inflammatory causing foods. So, you know, for Thanksgiving, it's of course like the turkey. And of course, that's also high protein, guys. So you're getting your protein in. Turkey's typically lower in fat, which is really great too. And if I can fill the majority of my plate up with the turkey, or a good portion of it, I then can go into the wants. And I can go into, you know, taking a bite size here, a bite size there, and filling my plate with some of those wants. And then I can sit down, I can enjoy those foods. And when I have a full stomach and I'm thinking super clearly, I can ask myself, do I really want those not so worth it? Like how hungry am I still? Do I really need a bite of that? Which will help me kind of stay on track. Have you ever gone like grocery shopping when you're starving and then you end up with like a cart full of all the foods that you probably didn't need? Tip number 2, don't go grocery shopping when you're starving. But that's kind of how I like to look at it, is if I can fill up and not be super, super famished, then I can make better decisions on some of the things that I might not necessarily need.
That's a great tip. And I think I saw a lot of nods about going grocery store shopping hungry. It's definitely not a great ending there.
For sure.
So Lauren, I guess the next natural question is, this seems really easy to do in the comfort of your own home where you have a little more control over the food. But what happens if, you know, I'm going to my friend's house or I'm going to see my family and I just don't really know what's going to happen in that scenario? Yeah.
I know it's 50-50 for us, whether we have the holidays at our house or typically we're split between 2 families. So I always recommend making something that you can bring to share with others that may be like a good option for you to eat, that you know that you can enjoy. And I would say, like, in most cases, there's going to be somebody else there that's going to be like, thank you for bringing something healthy. You know, I think everyone at this point in time tries to watch themselves and stay healthy, you know, and it's not just us. So a lot of times it's appreciated. One of some suggestions I would have that could be delicious yet and festive, yet also health conscious, would be bringing like a sweet potato casserole. I think that's a big thing in our family for Thanksgiving. Sweet potato casserole is really great because you can substitute like sugar for Truvia. I would stick with like the natural sweeteners versus the like artificial sweeteners. Artificial meaning like the Sweet and Low or the Splendas. Those tend to cause, they're known to cause inflammation. Everybody's different, so it may not affect you or may not, you know, but I know it does affect me specifically. So I recommend all natural sweeteners or, you know, different options, and then adding walnuts, like that's anti-inflammatory. That could be helpful too. And, you know, taking like taking out some of the butter that's added and brown sugar and all those other things that you add it, which does, yes, make it delicious, but there are some really good recipes out there that can help, help spice it up and flavor it. Chantelle probably has some good advice on that.
You mean we shouldn't be putting marshmallows all over the top of our sweet potatoes?
Maybe not the best idea to stay on track, and I would keep those off of your healthy options. Some other things you can do, like tart cherries are like really well known to be like an anti-inflammatory. Berries like blueberries, so you could do like a tart, like a fruit tart or something along those lines, again using like a Truvia. Finding some nice like anti-inflammatory recipes out there that could substitute. And I guarantee you someone's going to be like, thank goodness someone had me in mind, and to kind of find different alternatives. And then you also get to like enjoy it and feel really good about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a really great tip. And if you're struggling with, if someone invited you and what should you bring, that's such a good suggestion for, thanking your host, here's something I brought, and also making sure that you yourself feel comfortable. So my next question is the holidays are often a social time involving drinking, the other trigger aside from just food. So of course, it's really different for everyone, whether alcohol triggers your arthritis or not, but I'm wondering for those that it does, if you have tips to try and, avoid it, or how to have it in moderation maybe, or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think everybody, a lot of people enjoy having a drink with their family and friends, and especially socializing. And if people are getting together this holiday, at least with vaccinations and stuff and COVID, there are small gatherings and things like that where I didn't get that last year, so I think that it's like almost so exciting to see people that we might not have seen for a while, and really to just enjoy over food and drinks. For me specifically, alcohol does trigger inflammation. And also it's the added sugars, it's all those things that kind of add to the inflammation. And if you're trying to stay on track with the diet, probably not the best thing for your diet. But at the same time, it also like lowers your inhibitions. So once you've had one too many, all of a sudden those like not worth it foods that you were like looking at earlier, they're going to start looking more worth it to you. And then you start to like make your way and like kind of mindlessly eat with the drinking. I don't think that you need to be as drastic as saying no alcohol whatsoever. Unless you do really know yourself and know that will trigger symptoms or inflammation or something like that. And then it's up to you to decide whether that's worth it. But I recommend enjoying a drink, knowing your limits, staying conscious, but also like, keeping yourself to a point where you don't feel like you're grabbing and eating the things that, in turn you might have had like a really good night to start with. And then you had that one drink that led you to that food and that food and that food and that food, and it all adds up. One recommendation, if you do decide to have a couple drinks over the holidays, is drinking water is my best piece of advice for you. Flushing your system and really keeping yourself hydrated should help kind of push things through your body, and help also for the next day. Like you'd feel better if you were well hydrated. I know I had friends in college that would like go to bed with coconut water next to their bed. So making sure that they stay hydrated, which kind of helps kind of push everything. And even without the alcohol, it pushes all the other stuff that you're eating, through your system as well, and kind of keeping that inflammation to a minimum.
Great tips. And I love what you said about just knowing yourself and knowing your body. I know, speaking for myself, living with chronic illness, I've come to know my body really well, and I'm sure many others on this call can relate. And we're probably the best people to take that advice, because we really do know ourselves just so intimately. We know our body, we know, I mean, sometimes it's very unpredictable, don't get me wrong, but we really do know what we need and when we need it. So I love that you use that analogy with this tip.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question for you is just like any general advice heading to the holiday season with your expertise. We're always looking for ways to have fun in a healthy way, and just anything that you have to share with us.
Yeah. So my biggest, I guess my last tips for you guys is just to really like take the holidays and enjoy it, and enjoy the company that you get to have this year and all of those things. So I try to like find, especially with like the clients that I coach, we really talk about finding this healthy balance. And I think that going all one way is, can be really hard, because it's really not sustainable and or realistic, long term. So in long term, if you're looking to stay on track or finding a new like healthy path for yourself, it's like my goal would be for people to find a way to enjoy themselves, and and find that balance of having that treat, having that drink, enjoying those wants on the holidays, because it's no fun otherwise, and we still have to live our lives. That being said, I find that with myself, specifically listening to your body and learning those triggers, paying attention to those things, and even up until now, until the holidays, keeping note of like how your body responds to different things, new things that you're eating, or if you're finding that you have like a lot of bloat or feel puffy or inflamed, you can kind of go back and see what you had that might have triggered that, and can help you stay away from something more specific over the holidays. But at the end of the day, it's really about enjoying yourself. I have a lot of clients that say to me, should I do like 3 hours of cardio after I just had that huge meal on Thanksgiving? And the answer is no. Like the answer is continue on your everyday. One thing that I actually try to do after the holidays is like anticipating that I might feel that not the best the next day. And I actually don't pack a heavy day of work or working out or anything. I keep myself moving. I try to get back on a normal schedule and then just move on and go on my path, and also just enjoy and cherish the memories that I have and are able to make with my friends and family, and the laughs, and just the time to relax.
On that note about enjoyment, before I turn it over to Corey and Chantelle to tell us about the recipe, I'm eager to hear how it's going. I just wanted to ask you, Lauren, what are you most looking forward to this holiday season?
I am looking forward to getting to spend time with my family. Like I said, this last holiday season, it was really hard for me to do Thanksgiving dinners on Zoom, and the holiday dinners on Zoom when we were such a close-knit family. So just being able to be with people, hear them laugh in person and have conversations. I too, like Corey, do love my food, and look forward to being able to splurge a little bit and find that healthy balance myself, but mostly being around people, because that's a gift. I didn't realize what a big gift it was until I didn't have it last year.
I totally agree. And we wish you such a happy holiday season with your family. Thank you, Lauren, for joining us and for sharing so many important and valuable tips. I'm really excited to go incorporate them myself.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Corey, we'll turn it back to you, see how it's going, and then check in with Chantelle.
Yeah, thanks, Zoe, and Lauren, thanks so much. That was great. Chantelle, how are things going over there? Because it smells like fall in my house, and I did cheat a little bit. The things I like to add to my butternut squash soup is bacon bits, so I made a little bit of bacon bits on the side. So little cheating, but that as an additional smell.
That is totally fine. I completely agree with you. It goes with everything. Yes, 1000% yes. As you see, I am back to being seated, but I'll get up in a second. My pot has been turned off. I have montré à beurre, my soup, which means that I put in some cold butter and incorporated it into the soup. And I did it at exactly the time when Lauren was talking about butter. So sorry, Lauren, but butter was necessary here today. So anyway, this is our soup. It is pretty much so done. I did go ahead and zhuzh it with that immersion blender, which was a lot of fun, but it was really loud. So I'm glad that you guys weren't on audio for that. So I don't know if you guys can see, but take a peek at that. Woohoo, it's beautiful. So what I'm gonna do, and like I said before, I'm gonna attempt arts and crafts today. I'm not a crafty person. I was a makeup artist, but I am not an artist. I cannot draw, I can only color. So my husband can draw, but he's not camera ready right now. So I've got kind of like a shallow soup plate bowl. Around here we call them a blate. But it's a shallow soup bowl, and I'm just ladling a few in, and because it's Spookyween, we're gonna go ahead. Okay, this is like the most amazing ingredient. It's a balsamic glaze. Now, yes, you can make this at home. You can take a pot and you can put a ton of balsamic in it, and you can put it over low, and you can let it reduce by 2/3, and it will take a long time, and it will annoy you, and then it will ruin one of your pots possibly, and then you have to wash it, or you have your partner who washes things for you do it, and then it's a whole thing. So I just suggest buying it because it's there, it's available, it's like $4. So that's what I did. Well, maybe 5. Things are going up in price, but it's fantastic. I love it. And it cuts kind of the richness of the soup. It does have a sweetness to it, but again, it is vinegar. So it does have a little bit of a, so it gets in there and it cuts the richness of the soup, which happened because of the aforementioned butter and all the spices that are in there that are warming it up and making it just so delicious. And I did taste it, and I did add a little bit of salt and pepper to the recipe because you have to adjust for flavor. So always have a tasting spoon in your kitchen. And that's a spoon that's for you, and then you run it to the sink and you clean it, and then you come back. That's what the tasting spoon is. So we're gonna attempt an arts and crafts moment. Pause for dramatics. Oh, is it happening? I think it's happening. Okay, I'm going to attempt to make a spider web because it's Spooky Kitchen. And I saw this on, I think, Martha Stewart or something, so she must be right. So allegedly, all I need is this toothpick, this spiral, and I should be able to be an artist in 3.5 seconds. Or it might just look like a pinwheel. I kind of did it. I think I might have did something. What do you guys think? Can you see? It looks kind of spider webby, right? It's cute. She's cute. 10 out of 10. Thank you, Amy.
That looks amazing.
So that is the recipe for tonight. It's actually really, really good. Give it a taste. Oh yeah. I would throw this spoon, but it's my spoon. This is my house, and I don't want to cause damage to my own home. But if I was on the Food Network, I would be throwing this spoon and going, curse word, this is good. So that's how good it is. It's fantastic. I hope you guys get a chance to try this recipe. Corey, is it working out for you over there?
I will let you know how it ends up. Can't wait to sit down and eat it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming back after our summer break and double break for me. I really, really appreciate the support and all the DMs and instant messages and all the stuff that I've been getting on Instagram and Twitter. Like, the love is really, really well felt, and I really, really appreciate it. And I'm so happy to be back, and I can't wait to see you guys for Friendsgiving.
See you then. Have a good night, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us all, and we'll see you next month for Friendsgiving.